Let me describe the state you are currently living in. It is not quite sadness. Sadness is an active emotion. It has a sharp edge. What you are feeling is something heavier. It is a profound, structural exhaustion that sleep does not fix. You wake up, and the first sensation is not readiness, but a vague dread, a weight in the center of your chest. You look at the ceiling, and for a few seconds you cannot summon the will to participate in your own life. You do get up, of course. You go through the motions. You perform the rituals of hygiene, of work, of social interaction. You might even smile at a colleague or laugh at a video on your screen. But behind that performative mask, there is a terrifying, static silence. You feel as though you are dissolving. The things that used to bring you joy, your hobbies, your favorite music, the ambitions you once held so tightly, now taste like ash in your mouth. You feel detached, as if you are a ghost haunting your own body, watching yourself go through the day from a distance. And the worst part? The shame. You look at your life, and on paper, perhaps nothing is wrong. You have no tragic excuse for this paralysis. So you conclude that you are broken. You tell yourself that you are lazy or ungrateful, or that your brain chemistry has simply failed you. You believe that this internal collapse is a sign of your weakness. But what if I told you that you are misdiagnosing your own soul? What if this feeling, this rotting away of your motivation, this disintegration of your identity, is not a mistake? What if it is not a pathology to be medicated away, but a necessary, ancient process that has been misunderstood by the modern world? You are not merely falling apart. You are entering the Nigredo. In the psychology of alchemy, before gold can be synthesized, the base matter must first undergo putrefaction. It must rot. It must turn black. Stay with me. Let us explore why your destruction is actually the beginning of your creation. The modern world has zero tolerance for what you are experiencing. We live in the era of the happiness industry. Look around you. Your social media feeds are inundated with relentless positivity. You are told to hack your dopamine, to optimize your morning routine, to treat your mind like a machine that simply needs better fuel to keep producing output. And because you are intelligent, you have tried to comply. I know you have. You have tried to force yourself back into alignment. You have consumed the caffeine, read the self-help books, and tried to bully yourself into being productive. You treat your own exhaustion like an enemy combatant that must be defeated. But it isn't working, is it? And here is the defense I offer you against the tribunal of your own mind. Your inability to function right now is not a malfunction. It is a protest. Your psyche is actually functioning perfectly. It has initiated a strike. Society views your stillness as laziness. It views your withdrawal as a lack of resilience. But society is shallow. It values linear growth, infinite, mindless expansion. It does not understand the cyclical nature of the soul. Think of the seasons. Does the tree apologize when it sheds its leaves in winter? Does the earth feel guilty when it lies dormant under the frost? No. It understands that incubation requires stillness. Those around you, the ones who seem so perpetually functional, so effortlessly happy, are often not better than you. They are simply better at distraction. They are maintaining the status quo because they are afraid to look into the abyss that you are currently floating in. You, however, have lost the ability to pretend. The facade has cracked. This is painful, yes. It feels like a death. But it is also a sign of profound depth. Your internal system has recognized that the old version of you, the one that sought validation, the one that played by the rules, is no longer viable. It is dismantling that version to make room for something else. So, let us stop calling this depression or laziness for a moment. Let us stop apologizing for the rot. Instead, let us look at what this darkness is actually trying to teach you. To understand what is happening to you, we must leave the sterile offices of modern therapy and step back into the dimly lit laboratories of the 16th century alchemists. These proto-scientists were not just trying to turn lead into gold. That is the vulgar interpretation. They were mapping the transmutation of the human soul. They understood a hidden variable that modern psychology often ignores: the law of equivalent exchange. You cannot create a new self while clinging to the structure of the old one. The alchemists called the first stage of the magnum opus, the great work, the Nigredo, the blackening. The Nigredo is the stage of putrefaction. Before the prima materia, the base matter of your soul, can be elevated, it must first be broken down. It must be burned to ash. It must rot. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, saw the Nigredo not as a disaster, but as a psychological necessity. He wrote, "No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." What you are feeling right now, this heaviness, this static silence, this feeling of falling apart, is the putrefactio. It is the psychological decomposition of your persona. Here is the hidden variable you need to see. The identity that is currently collapsing was likely not built by you. It was built by your environment. It was constructed from the expectations of your parents, the demands of your school, the fear of rejection, and the trauma of your childhood. You built a mask to survive in the world. You became the good student, the reliable employee, the quiet observer. That mask served you well for years. It protected you. But now, that mask has become a cage. The exhaustion you feel is your soul's refusal to keep energizing a fake identity. The battery is dead because the machine is obsolete. The Nigredo arrives when the distance between who you are and who you are pretending to be becomes too great to bear. The structure collapses under its own weight. The Stoics speak of amor fati, loving one's fate. This includes the fate of destruction. When you are in the Nigredo, the worst thing you can do is try to fix it with manic positivity. You cannot tape the eggshell back together once the chick has started to peck its way out. You are currently in the dark room of the soul. It is supposed to be dark. This is where the development happens. The depression you feel is actually a withdrawal of projection. You are pulling your energy back from the external world to boil it within yourself. This is the alchemical fire. It burns away the arrogance, the naivety, and the false attachments of the ego. I know it hurts. It feels like dying because, in a very real sense, it is a death. The ego is terrified of the Nigredo because the ego does not survive it. But you, the self, the deeper observer, you will survive. You are not falling apart because you are weak. You are falling apart because you are ripe. The fruit must rot to release the seed. This darkness is not a tomb. It is a womb. So, do not run from the blackness. Do not numb it with cheap distractions. Sit in it. Let it do its work. Let it strip you down to the bone. Because only when you are reduced to nothing can you begin to become something real. The process of Nigredo is solitary by nature. It is your own private winter. No one can burn in that fire for you. However, isolation does not have to mean loneliness. This channel is designed to be a sanctuary for those of us who are tired of pretending. We are not here to fix you, but to witness you. I want you to look into the darkness you are feeling right now. If you feel comfortable, go down to the comments, our shared confessional, and tell me, what part of your old self is currently dying? What is the fire burning away? Writing it down is an act of alchemy in itself. It takes the invisible weight from your chest and gives it a physical form. You will find that you are surrounded by thousands of others who are also sitting in the dark, waiting for the dawn. Embrace the fall. Trust the process. The gold is coming. I am just a student of these things, walking the path beside you. Thank you for listening.